So you want to sell at an artist alley, but you don't know where to start. Don't worry, I got you. I recently went to MegaCon Orlando and got so much information about running an artist alley table. Across the next few videos, we're going to talk about the art that was sold there, ways to set up your display, pricing, and so much more. In the first video of this series, let's talk about the overall vibe of the artist alley and the type of art that was sold there. How was the artist alley? Compared to last year, they did a really good job organizing everything. So looking at the map, you can see that they broke it up into multiple sections that just made it a little bit easier to navigate, because let me tell you, navigating everything last year was a huge pain. So I'm glad that they chose to break it up into multiple sections. So as far as the location is concerned, I feel like it was a bit of a blessing and a curse. It's a good thing in the sense that you can get potential traffic to your table. Maybe someone sees some artwork of like a fandom they're really into and they, might get a little distracted, go to your table, buy something, and then continue on to the autograph area. Maybe they're walking to the celebrity autograph area and a piece of fan art catches their eye and they're like, oh, I love that person. I'm literally about to go see them. They could walk up to your table, purchase the art print, and then they'll go and get that signed by the celebrity guest. However, it can be a curse, especially for days like Saturday. A lot of people were in the convention center. This led to a lot of congestion in the walkways. If people don't want to take the main walkways to the autograph area, guess where they're also going to go through? The artist alley. So now you have more people in the artist alley. They're not interested in purchasing what you have. They just want to go get their autograph. They just want to go meet their celebrity star. So now you have this congestion of people who want to buy from the artist and people who don't want to buy. So a tip for your artist alley table: if you're going to an event like MegaCon or one where they assigned you a table number and they put it on a map like the one I showed you earlier, have that number visible somewhere on your booth. It can be written on a sheet of paper and it's physically on your table. You can put it on your display. If you have your table number visible, it's going to be a little bit easier for them to find you, because then all they have to do is they can write down that number, take a picture of it, and then check the map and go, okay, cool, artist A1000, she was in this row, we got to go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, do a flip, a cartwheel, and then we're there. Another thing you can do to help people find your table is to post your table number on your social media. So if you have an Instagram, a TikTok, a Twitter, I'm not calling it X, and so on, you can put in like your name or your description or your bio, like, hey, at MegaCon table, blah blah blah. Maybe even make like a post, like do a picture, I'm at MegaCon, I'm this table. People who follow you and want to find your table at the convention know where to find you. What type of art was in the MegaCon artist alley? MegaCon is a multi-fandom event. It's going to be a wide range of objects, whether you're more of a fantasy style artist, if you're more of a fan artist, whether you do anime style art, or just homemade crafts. So if you do like crochet, plush dolls, sewing, jewelry, clay figurines, and everything else in between, there's a wide variety of things that you can sell at MegaCon artist alleys. I'd say for every 3 to 4 tables that were mostly fan art, there was one table that was original art. Considering how big this artist alley is, that's a good amount of fan art and original art. So one type of print that I noticed was square shaped prints. There was a lot of them this year and there was a good bit of them last year. So I'm a square freak, so I love the fact that more people are using more square frames for their artwork. You can also put it up on your wall and you can literally just put it anywhere, have like 9 in a cube and still have like a nice wall display going. So I feel like for some artists, they gravitate more towards that square print. Inside these square prints were a lot of portraits, headshots, bust shots of characters, and so on. Another thing with those square prints is that they're a little bit easier to put on your displays. If you do the display cubes, they're about a 12 by 12 grid. I want to say that most of the square prints were everywhere between like 8 by 8s and 10 by 10s. So you can very easily just kind of lay those out side by side and it'll look really nice on your display board. So as far as types of art that was there, I'm going to very generically put them in 2 different categories. We're going to have your more rendered type artwork. So these are the more painterly ones. These are the ones where people do like a lot of blending and shading and highlights to where it almost kind of looks real or 3D. And then on the other side, we're going to have the more graphic style where they're a little bit simplified. Maybe they're a cartoon character, an anime character. Maybe someone has some strength in graphic design and they can create like these really cool elaborate designs and king characters and whatnot. As far as prints are concerned, a lot of them fell into those 2 categories. The more rendered, more painterly, more digital blending or traditional blended. They leaned more towards fantasy characters, a lot of people's original concepts, a lot of skulls, birds. A lot of people especially leaned into the high fantasy. There was so much D&D styled, fantasy inspired, Lord of the Rings looking artwork there. On the other side of the spectrum, people use that kind of rendered style to create just really nice fan art. So yet again, the convention had a bunch of Genshin fan art, and this fell with portraits, keychains, and everything else in between. But for the people who do have that more rendered style, they used that and made a bunch of Genshin fan art or a video game character fan art, or maybe they recreated a scene from a Studio Ghibli movie, and so on. As far as the more graphical styles go, they leaned more into the kind of cutesy chibi vibe. If someone had like a really strong background in graphic design, then they'll create they just create really unique and interesting designs and illustrations by simplifying the hell out of the characters, but the composition is like, mwah, it's chef's kiss. As far as the kind of cutesy, chibi, anime, kawaii, adorable type of art style, those artists had a lot of people at their tables. If you have an art style that leans more towards that, you're definitely going to get a decent amount of traffic. It leaned more into kind of like the female and younger crowd, so like maybe high schoolers, young adults, people who are like the kind of kawaii, cutesy, pastel aesthetic. A lot of people tend to gravitate towards those styles. For the print artists, there were a lot of portrait images that they were selling. So the most common one I saw was Genshin Impact. Of course, there was a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen. I didn't actually see that much Chainsaw Man fan art going around. Is it falling out of popularity? Is JJK kicking its butt right now? I'll let y'all decide. Either from the bust up or from the waist up, and hell, some of them were just pure, just like headshots of the characters, usually kind of like a 3/4 view, and they're just kind of like smiling at you, or if they're more of a stoic character, just having like a very stoic look or something like that. I can imagine that for specific artists, portraits are easier to render out. You only have to draw from like this up, and you can render it to hell and back, or keep it as simple as you want, or make it more of like an anime shell shaded style, or you can pretty much do a lot with a little and produce more of them frequently. So as per usual, prints and stickers will always sell. From what I can tell, it looks like smaller prints are on the uptick of being sold and larger prints are on the downtick of being sold. Of course, this is going to vary between the different events that you go to. I would say that at smaller events like WasabiCon, the smaller prints will sell more because the more local, high school kids who, their parents probably gave them an allowance of $50 and said, hey, go crazy. Even though $50 is not enough to spend at an artist alley. I would know I spend too much money at an artist alley, but I digress. The smaller prints are gonna sell because they're cheaper, they're easier to put and display on the walls, and I will show a clip of the smaller prints that I do have adorning my desk behind my monitors. Stickers will always sell, especially if you have like fun character designs, either original characters or fan art pieces, have your special effects on there, the glitter, the stars, the sparkles, the holograph, whatever it's gonna be. At the end of the day, stickers are gonna sell. Another product that was very rampant throughout the convention was enamel pins. The thing with enamel pins is that people have been upgrading their design game when it comes to these little pins. I kid you not, they'll do like a full illustration, have like 12 different colors, and it'll be twice the size of this, like practically like a decorative brooch at that point. So there were two different types of enamel pins there. You either had a beautiful pin like this one that has like a very simplistic design, the line weights in the right areas, and the color palette is very simple. And then you have enamel pins like this that are a little bit more involved. The design, there's more colors involved, there's some effects going on, and you're getting almost like a full illustration. I can tell you right now, I only looked up 2 manufacturers who do enamel pins, and from what I recall, I think they cap you at about 10 to 12 colors, and then any additional colors beyond that, they charge you extra for. So the fact that these artists are going ham with these enamel pin designs, making them like this big, and there's at least 15 different colors, you best believe those pins aren't cheap. If you want to make enamel pins, I'm not saying get crazy and make these crazy big designs. I can say that enamel pins, they're not dying at all. They're still very popular and people are still purchasing them because people usually like to show them off. They'll either pin them to their clothing, to their hats, their beanies. They'll display them on their Ita bags like I have here. Also, this is the artist who made the bag. Isn't it great? Isn't it amazing? I love this bag. Just so you know, enamel pins are expensive to produce. So let's pretend that this pin is almost 2 inches tall and 1.5 inches wide. I think for a pin this size, it may cost you about $3 a pin to produce. And yeah, we'll stick with $3 because you're only using 2 colors. And this is kind of like I think like a sterling silver, like a gold finish on the pin itself. So for 25 pins, $3, where calculator at? I ain't about to figure this out. That's $75 for 25 pins. Imagine if you wanted 100 pins. If it costs $75 to produce 25, it's going to cost you about $300 to produce 100. And that's just one design. What if you have multiple designs? And that's how enamel pins start to get very, very expensive. So although enamel pins can be a very nice and profitable product to sell, definitely determine whether or not you can afford the manufacturing, do a lot of testing, do a lot of research to make sure that this is a product worth selling. While I'm here, there was one table that their entire display was just nothing but enamel pins. And I think they got 2 tables. So they had 2 6-foot tables and just corner to corner enamel pins, and they broke them up into different categories and they had like the different sections. They had their pricing deals and their little combos. It was absolutely insane. So let's talk about a few more products that we saw at the convention. Magnets. Although there were not many and the most common forms were bookmark magnets, there was also just kind of like traditional magnets, and they were made out of felt. Tofu-tastic. This artist, they take the designs of existing characters and they simplify them into like this really kind of cute and cozy looking kind of cutout style. They simplify the design, they cut everything out in felt, and then they glue the layers together to create the character, and then they'll attach magnets. They were gracious enough to allow me to include their table in this video, so you'll be seeing the examples of what I'm talking about. I'll also be sharing examples of the items that I purchased from them. I think this is a really unique idea for a magnet because you wouldn't think that magnets would sell, but they do to some degree. And the fact that this creator came up with a really fun and interesting idea to create magnets, it stood out. The character designs are really, really good and they were super freaking cute. If you like what you see, check them out in the description below. Another thing that has had a huge influx in being sold of people selling sketchbooks, not just any sketchbook, square sketchbooks. This is a square, right? And they all had their own custom designs on it. From what I could tell, the paper quality was very nice too. It's like pretty cute, small little chibi sketchbook. If that's a product that you think that you can afford to manufacture, sketchbooks with custom designs could be an option for you. Next up, we have B grades and gotcha machines. So everybody and their mama had a gotcha machine. Okay, if you don't know what a gotcha machine is, imagine a gumball machine, but instead of getting a gumball, you get a little capsule, and if you open it up, there's usually something inside. What I've seen a couple of artists do is that they will sell their B grade items at a discounted price. Now, if you don't know what a B grade item is, hey there, editing Volpe here. I completely butchered the definition of B grades, so we're going to start over. B grades for artists are products that they sell that have minor imperfections, usually at a discount. Now, these imperfections are super minor. Say a print has a couple of colors that may be off, or maybe an enamel pin that has a few specks of color in the wrong area. The product itself is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not broken. It's not damaged. It's just not up to the standard of the artist. So instead of tossing it, they just sell it at a discounted price. Now, back to the video. You're pretty much buying, I won't say defective product, but it's not to the highest quality, hence why they discount it. And that's where these little gotcha machines come in. You can siphon in on that mystery bag experience by having someone pay $5, $10, get like 2 twists on the machine and get like a little thing. So if you've ever purchased mystery bags, it's essentially the same thing. If they don't have a gotcha machine, then they're just selling their B grades as is. They'll usually separate them in like a little bucket or in their own little little container, there might be mildly misshapen, the colors might be different, and this doesn't just apply to enamel pins, this also applies to keychains, stickers, prints, pretty much any product that you make that you either get produced out of house or you make yourself. There's just like teeny tiny little imperfections on it, but it's still sellable. Don't just toss out those items, you can still sell them, just make sure you let the customer know these aren't perfect, they're mildly defective in some form or fashion. So lastly, we have handmade goods. This is going to be clay-made items, jewelry, hand sewn items, plush dolls, plushies, and pretty much anything that you can make with your hands. A popular item that I saw was a variety of jewelry. So the one person that I purchased from was Rose & Co. Jewelry. So this artist, not only was their table display really nice, they made a bunch of jewelry inspired by anime characters, video game characters, movie characters, D&D characters, and so on. The pair of earrings that I specifically bought, I honestly couldn't tell you who they were inspired by. They just look really nice and aesthetic and kind of fit my vibe, which was intentional by the artist. Even though the jewelry pieces that she made were inspired by all these different series, she designed them in a way where the average person would look at that and just go, yo, that's a fire piece of jewelry, I want to buy that. Another item that stood out to me is an art book and playing cards. They are going to be probably going to be an expensive item to manufacture, but if that's something that you're interested in, if you've always wanted to make your own set of playing cards and you have like an concept or an idea for how you want the design to look, that could be an item to look into. As far as the art book is concerned, the one in particular that I purchased focused on a concept that the creator was working on, and it has illustrations of all the different characters they made for the playing cards, along with some short explanations and stories about the different characters that she drew. Last but not least, we have our sewn goods. So of course there's plushies that people can get manufactured now. What a day and age we live in that you can manufacture your own plushies. And vinyl dolls. That was another thing that I saw. I think it's pretty freaking cool that we live in a day and age where a average person like myself can go to a manufacturer and say, hey, can I get a vinyl toy made of my character? Obviously, these are going to be more expensive options, and people who usually do more vinyl toys of their characters, they usually have like a strong character base. They might have like a short story they do. They may have a strong following, and they have like really popular characters that someone would want to have a little toy or statuette of. So that's a very unique option. But circling back to the plush items and sewing, a lot of people, if you have the ability to sew, if you can, sew together clothing garments, or oh my gosh, clothes, we'll get to that. So if you have the ability to sew your own clothes, tote bags, fanny packs, I think someone shows handkerchiefs. I know I've bought a couple of items that are just like little hairbands and headbands and scrunchies. Everybody likes tote bags these days, whether it be the canvas ones with prints on it or kind of more fun, creative ones that have like custom print designs on it that are either your own designs or maybe you made like a custom pattern that you made your own like bags with. So bags, tote bags, fanny packs. I purchased the fanny bag last WasabiCon. So if you have the ability to hand create things, try selling those things that you create. I forgot to mention apparel. Custom t-shirts are a product of the past. People will still buy t-shirts of various designs and products and graphics and everything else under the sun, but the variety of products that you can put your designs on now is huge. It's freaking huge. So one creator that I follow, 5 Boos, they made custom print button-up shirts. The one that I purchased specifically was this little murder ghost. I was waiting for it. It wasn't available during WasabiCon and they were at Mega, so I was like, hell yeah, give me all of your wares. And just to add in another item, shaker keychains. I've noticed an influx of shaker keychains becoming very popular. Everyone has been coming up with really fun and interesting ideas and concepts for these keychains, most of them being gotcha machines or claw machines. Some people have been incorporating the concept of a Tamagotchi and having little shaker keychains do that. There's just been a large variety that you can do with them, so really get creative with the designs if that's a product that you're interested in making. Now, if you got some good info out of the video, be sure to subscribe. The next video in the series will cover advice on building your displays, so be sure to hit the bell to get notified when that video goes live. Now, you're in for a treat if you made it this far into the video. So we've got some great great advice from the lane art geek who was vending at MegaCon this year. So happy for her, that's freaking huge. My excitement aside, I hope her advice serves you well, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey there, I'm Indigo Ferret Craft. Due to the busy nature of MegaCon, I will be voicing for the artist's answers that Volpe couldn't record in person.
What's one piece of advice you would give to a beginner vendor?
The most important piece of advice I would give to a beginner vendor is to focus on putting yourself and your art out there. There are some vendors that present their very first Artist Alley table with a variety of different products right away, such as prints, keychains, pins, apparel, etc. And I think that's amazing. But for those that are starting very fresh, your goal is to show audiences and attendees your artwork and what you're capable of. Of course, the main goal for being in an Artist Alley is to make money. But in order to make money, people have to know who you are and what you make. When I first started tabling during WasabiCon 2021, I literally only had a small collection of mini prints, 5 sticker designs, my box of original art pieces, and a sign for commissions. My priority was just to put my art out there, and thankfully people responded in a positive light. I was fortunate enough to profit from my first ever Artist Alley experience. Making prints is one of the easiest things you can do to start tabling, and you really don't need to invest so much if you already have the resources, such as your own printer and paper, or if you have a Walgreens, CVS, or Staples nearby. So basically, not everyone will have the same amount and types of products as everyone else, but everyone has the same thing before starting: their artwork. However they choose to display said artwork is up to them though. As a beginner, showing off your artwork in any means should always be the first step.